Hello YouTube and Patreon, this is Nathan P. Butler, and this is our project update for the month of July 2021. Been a busy month outside of projects and whatnot. Of course, on my end, we had finished the school year near the end of May, had basically, Memorial Day, but then on either side of that, training teachers and stuff like that, so we went pretty much straight into summer school session. Summer school finally ended for students on July 14th. We had a couple days after that of getting all the grades in and getting all that kind of stuff finalized, jumped through a weekend, and then 2 days that each had a meeting. So my official first day of any kind of real break was actually, last Wednesday, as of the time that I'm recording this. So not a very long break, for me at least, between summer session and the beginning of the new school year when we start having meetings the first week of August. But as a result of not having any students to deal with, I have managed to be pretty productive here in the last few days, and will continue to be over the next week, at least when it comes to the book. So we're going to be talking about that, some new things going on with that, some more stuff as far as, kind of the logistics of things like the Patreon and the Patreon thanks and all that kind of stuff within the book. So let's dive straight into all that stuff here. So to start with, let me thank all of you who are backers over there on Patreon. Again, that is always patreon.com/Nathan P. Butler. Just run it all together as one word. There are 3 tiers over there. You have the $1 Travelers Through the Butlerverse tier. Those are folks who get a thanks in videos like these out loud while it's still a manageable number, which it seems it will stay, and in the credits on an episode like this. Then they also get a thanks when a Saga on Home Video's 2nd edition comes out. This is the 1st edition, the grayscale one here. When the 2nd edition comes out, all 3 volumes of it, they'll get a thanks on a special Patreon credits or Patreon thanks page. And then, of course, you also have that $5 tier, the denizens of the Butlerverse, who get that, but then also get access to those audio commentaries I put together, full-length audio commentaries to listen to while watching things like Forces of Destiny, all 4 episodes of that, the 4 collected volumes of that, and the Clone Wars, and eventually it'll be probably Rebels next, I would imagine. Then, of course, take that up a notch, you get the $10 tier, the Nobility of the Butlerverse, who get all of that, but then also get access to that exclusive Q&A video every single month where they get to ask the questions, and then I answer them in a video that is exclusive to that particular group. So 3 different tiers over there. There is some bookkeeping we'll need to take care of with that here in just a moment, but first, let me say thank you to all of you who are backers over there. To the Travelers Through the Butlerverse, which includes Kai Jacoby, Bon Linez, Travis Cook, Caleb Owens, Justin Richard, Preston Ellis, Jeremy Goss, Ben Abrams, Michael Torson, Jacob Kapoor, Tony Jenkins, Kevin Kriener, I think I said it right again that time, Austin Pierce, and Chris Walker. Then, of course, beyond that, we have the denizens of the Butlerverse. Yes, I am jumping between my screens here to make sure that I don't miss anybody. So, for the denizens, we have Story Mode, Craig Clayton, Matt DeRochers, Daniel Marchant, Travis Taylor, Andrew Gilbertson, Walker Langstrat, Joey Zitzman, Stephen Malicia, Robert Medina, Bobby Craig, Jeremiah Mustard, and Jason Hunt. And then, finally, for the top tier over there, the Nobility of the Butlerverse, of course, we have Joe Belich, Connor Steyerman, Jeff Rabjohns, Matthew Hardesty, Kyle Pellegrini, Innes, Jonathan Converse, Sam Howard, Andrew Bettis, and Benjamin Handelman. Benjamin Handelman has been with us since the beginning, by the way. The very first Patreon supporter, and still going strong with that. So a couple things to note with this real quickly. We are heading into the point where hopefully, fingers crossed, still by the end of this year, I want to try to get a Saga on Home Video 2nd edition out. I feel like I'm close enough that the end of the year is still doable. Maybe as a Christmas time thing, so maybe people can buy it for people for Christmas presents or ask for it, which would be nice. But at the same time, I'm just like, wow, it's already July. Holy crap, the year is going fast. So the goal is still to try to get it done by the end of the year, if not early the following year, but I still expect it to be a 2021 thing at this point. But what that means is that at some point, things are going to kind of narrow down in relationship to the Patreon. One of the benefits of the Patreon, again, is to get your name in a thanks page in the 2nd edition of A Saga on Home Video in all 3 volumes. Well, obviously, once that is published, once that is out there, it won't be possible to continue adding names to that list unless there's eventually, say, a 3rd edition or supplemental something in the future. So, that is one thing, that is one benefit, that if someone wants to get in on that, they need to be getting in on that soon. As long as you have been an actual paid supporter on Patreon, you would be part of that. And I say an actual paid supporter because that's the second thing to address here, which is that if you are someone, and there have been probably 6 in the entire length of the Patreon existing, who jumped in, got stuff for your particular tier, but then bailed before it could actually bill you for your support for that month, you have not actually supported the Patreon. Therefore, you will not be in the thanks section. So whether that was intentional or not, on behalf of those few people, if they happen to see this, if they're expecting to see their name in the book, they need to make sure that they actually have supported it financially the way that Patreon is designed to do, even if it was at that $1 tier. If they're not sure, they're welcome to send me a message and check. But I'm guessing these were cases where people jumped in, wanted to grab stuff and jump out, so they didn't get charged even $1 for some reason. Although that seems weird, right? And some of those folks did wind up getting thanked in an episode like this because this is recorded before they would have bailed before winding up being charged anything. So there's that. The other thing is to make sure, again, if I am seeing your name here as a first name only, like Innes's case, who let me know his last name. Or if I'm seeing your name on here as a username, like story mode, I'm assuming that's not the person's real name. Maybe, but I doubt it. If you're going by a username or something like that, or just a first name, and you want to have your full name, first and last, actually thanked in the book, you need to make sure you tell me what that is. Even if you don't want it read out loud on episodes like these, that's fine. But you need to tell me what it is, because otherwise I won't know to put it in the book. We will get to a point, and I will let you know when that is, here in the coming months, where we have to have a firm cutoff of when I've been given finished, final, correct names to use, and when the cutoff is to be able to still get someone's name in the book. Because at some point I have to lock down those pages to be ready to actually push that out the door. But I will make that one of the last things that I finalize for the book. Speaking of Patreon, since the last of these update videos, we of course had the commentary released for The Soft War on July 1st, and Tipping Points on July 15th, which are the last 2 episodes of the Onderon arc that kicks off Season 5 of The Clone Wars. We also had the 43rd Nobility of the Butlerverse Q&A video, the exclusive Q&A video, get released on July 5th. As to what's coming up, we pick up with the Young Jedi arc as the next commentary. So Young Jedi will run through August and September. They are recorded and ready to go. Then we have the Droids arc, the D-Squad arc, the one that includes A Sunny Day in the Void, the absolute worst episode of that series of all time, which drives me nuts to even consider, especially because Lucas said it was his favorite, which means that it was time for him to retire. That'll be running through October and November of this year. Those are now all recorded, edited, ready to go as well. So I'm good to go for recorded commentaries through November 15th. The next arc after that will be the Shadow Collective arc with Maul. Love that arc, excited for that one. And then the one where Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order. So 2 pretty major arcs coming up. I have not got my notes taken for that yet. I hope to do that within this coming week or so. Get it recorded some night. Because then the Shadow Collective arc would take us through December, January, and then Ahsoka leaving would take us through February, March, basically. And then we're off into Season 6, which is short, Season 7, which is short, and Clone Wars will actually be done, finally. As far as YouTube, had some kind of different things going on this time around. So the first video actually after the project update was an unusual one. I am someone who likes board games. And in particular, I follow some game series like the Tiny Epic series, and I became what's referred to as an honorary producer based on a pledge level on Kickstarter for a game called Tiny Epic Dungeons. And part of that means that well before the game comes out, a premium print-on-demand prototype is sent to me from Gamelin Games, the company behind it, to actually be able to start playing very, very early. So, because it was kind of a cool thing, and there's a lot of excitement about Tiny Epic Dungeons, I took the time to do a sort of component overview video for Tiny Epic Dungeons, in the similar vein to what I did sometimes in the past for some Kickstarter games, like the Gloom of Killforth, first and second printing type games and stuff like that. I haven't had time to do a lot of those recently. I'd love to do one for Hand of Fate Ordeals sometime soon, because on the Solo Board Gamers group on Facebook, there's a lot of interest in that game and a lot of confusion, it seems like, between the special edition and the regular version and what else is out there. Unfortunately, it's very hard to find because of the companies going out of business. But I have all that stuff, and I'd love to do a video on it when I get the opportunity. Not sure when or if that will actually happen, though. Then, of course, we had from the Star Wars Home Video Library, the main series here for the channel. We had 2 top 5 videos. The first 2 of those top 5 whatever type videos, or top however many videos. In this case, it was 5. So we did the top 5 frustrating U.S. release decisions made for home video by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment, and then another one for Fox in all of its various incarnations, whether it's 20th Century Fox Video, CBS Fox Video, 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment, whatever. I am working on some ideas for other lists. Right now, some of the topics that have popped up that I find interesting, must-haves, top foreign product lines, things that are missing that just have never gotten a home video release at all. Irrationally, I like this one, irrationally disappointing items. So items that disappointed, but really, from a logical standpoint, we should not have expected anything more than what we got, kind of stuff. Oddball items, documentary home video releases, worst and or most frustrating packaging, which is getting hard to narrow down, best pack-ins or mail-aways, best type of bonus feature. Rarest is a tough one. Because people keep asking me, do something on the rarest stuff. Well, how are you defining rare? Is it rare based on how difficult it is to find now? Like, say, the Japanese Video 8 trilogy? Or is it by just how many were produced in the first place, even if it's easier to find them? Like, they only made a few hundred of some of the South Korean and Chinese releases that I have from recent films. But they're a lot easier to find on eBay, even if you're going to be paying a pretty penny for some of them, than something like the Video 8 stuff, or the Video 2000 cassettes out of the UK or something. Or even something like Force Tech Training with the lightsaber, the little mini DVD. So how do we define what rare means? I'll probably have to come up with some type of delineation in order to make that list. And it probably will be a list that's less about the order, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and more just here's 5 things that are rare. Because I don't want to be ranking it because someone will bitch about it. Worst exclusives, probably be one. Fanciest releases, and favorite foreign markets for me personally. Like, favorite foreign places to get stuff from because I like their product lines, like, say, China with blue fans and that sort of thing. So I do have some ideas in the works. I have not taken the time to really narrow it down that much. I do have a few things to actually show in new episodes in the near future, so maybe a little bit before we get another top whatever episode, but those, again, are what I'll be using to try to fill in the gaps in time where there just isn't a lot to record about, because maybe there's not a lot of new stuff in my collection, or, heaven forbid, not a lot of new stuff coming out, which tends to kind of be the case right now. We did have some new regular episodes from the Star Wars Home Video Library, though, since that last release, or the last update video. So we had episode 407, taking a look at the C-3PO little mail-away item from Walmart from 1997. We had episode 408, which took a look at some more of those weird little notebooks or journals designed to look like VHS releases. 409, which was the Han Solo DVD, not Solo, but Han Solo DVD from Turkey that Matthew Hardesty picked up for him while he was abroad. Then we had the episode, I think my numbers are right here, we had the episode on the Panasonic giveaway original trilogy Blu-ray from 2011 that was just kind of like the regular one out of the UK with no slipcover, but had a little Panasonic thing in there to note that it came from pack-in with a player, and then could be used for some like dollars, or in this case pounds off. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm tripping over my words because it is so effing hot in this room. It is, even with the new setup and everything, it is so hot in the Atlanta area right now. Again, we are not measuring heat in K, C, or F, but in AFs. And it's a really freaking hot afternoon right now, and you can tell the sun just hammering in on me right here. But I prefer to have the natural light instead of just the overhead light here. Then we had the episode on the little folder from when Harrison Ford got his AFI Life Achievement Award, and the discussion about whether or not there might be a VHS set out there, but we don't know. and then an episode on what might have been a legitimate or might have been a bootleg release of the Clone Wars film from Russia, which I believe since then we've managed to pin down, yes, is actually a bootleg. I've considered just removing the episode because it is a bootleg, but I figure why not keep it up, because the whole discussion in it was about how do we recognize this? Is it a bootleg? Is it not? And letting the community, try to kind of help pin that down. So, yeah. But that's all so far of more recent stuff coming out from YouTube. I have not recorded anything else. I will not have time to record anything else today. It's just this. So we're looking at least a week or two before I'm able to record anything else to actually use. And next recording session is probably going to be mostly used up for the Q&A episode for Nobility of the Butlerverse over there on Patreon. So more stuff is coming, but I do not know how soon you'll see more episodes churned out. Because when I'm not on duty, when the school year is not in session, as it is not in session for the next week or so, which is nice, that doesn't actually give me more time to record, because it's generally just me and my son here, and there's not really an easy way to record with him around unless someone else is watching him or he's asleep, and he doesn't like to take naps. So instead, what I'm doing is focusing my efforts on the next, of course, topic for this video, which is A Saga on Home Video, the book, and where things stand with that. So, I'm still working on my hand edit. I went weeks without really being able to touch it much, but I'm powering through the hand edit. As of right now, I believe the working copy of A Saga on Home Video 2nd edition across the 3 volumes has crossed the 900 page mark. So each one will be about this size or bigger for the 3 volumes. Again, volume 1 is going to cover basically the live action episodes 1 through 6, essentially, releases of the theatrical films, at least by a U.S. standpoint, because Ewoks wasn't released theatrically over here, prior to when The Force Awakens hit home video, right? So all that stuff is volume 1. You pick up with Force Awakens through more recent live-action film releases. That's volume 2. That's actually what I'm in the middle of working on now, because I just, for some reason, decided I was going to dive into that one because I was just interested in going over the newer stuff in my hand editing recently. I'm about 80 pages away from being done with doing this round of hand editing for volume 2. Volume 3 is everything else. TV stuff, behind-the-scenes stuff, oddball items, tips for collecting, all that kind of stuff in volume 3. So, this may not look like I've made a lot of progress, but I have. There's just still a lot to go. And one of the things that I've been doing is something that I thought would be interesting. I've wanted to do it for a while, but decided, you know what, if I'm going to do this hand edit this time, where I'm going to be checking everything like, did every single label get described? Did every cover get described? Are episode titles in quotes instead of italics? And just little stuff like that, like kind of check, because there's not a lot to write anymore. It's about getting it to its finished form for the most part at this point. Not a lot of pictures to take, just a handful of new ones on my list to take or retake ones on the list. But what I've decided to do is, instead of constantly being like, and this cover includes such and such, if that cover for a particular home video release actually comes from, say, a poster, I want to be able to say when first talking about it, you know, it's from such and such, you know, here's what we're seeing, you know, here's what's on this image. It's the version whatever poster from this particular market. So that when poster art is used as home video art, I can point that out as part of the discussion. Because I think that if I'm going to be talking about cover art, it's incumbent upon me to address where some of this stuff came from, because so much of it, especially in recent days, does come from posters. The problem, of course, is I'm not an expert on Star Wars posters at all. So I've been relying on internet searches. StarWarsMoviePoster.com is a great resource. And I'm learning more about posters than I ever wanted to know. So let's take a look at Last Jedi as an example of what level of understanding I'm having to get of this stuff that I've had no interest in before. So I pulled off most of the Last Jedi stuff out of its little cube here. Let's see. So American cover for home video, right? We tend to think of that's the American home video cover, and we see it in other markets too. International poster version B. If you want the American version B poster art, well, you got to go to some other region, like, say, South Korea, because ours was the one with, Luke up at the top. But wait, Doesn't Rey look familiar? Doesn't Kylo from this image look familiar? Maybe the droids look familiar? Well, that's because from the American version B, elements were ripped away and used to become the front and back of the, you can't see the back here, obviously, because of the J card, but became the front and back of the WWA Steelbook. But remember, in the United States, our Steelbook looked different. Our Steelbook was this thing here, which we also see on some foreign covers and whatnot. Well, wait a second. This is poster version C. This is version D. And don't forget about China, right? China had its own version B. That's what they used for their Steelbook. And then you got the IMAX poster, like the main IMAX poster. Looks kind of like this from the US, but no, it's not actually this from the US from Target. No, it's kind of like the one from the UK, because Rey is like all dejected and looking down, but there's a version of this where she's not looking down. Instead, they've altered it so she looks at the viewer. That's an alternate version of the IMAX poster. So IMAX and kind of quasi-IMAX. Oh, and these are the Chinese character posters. But these are character posters from places like South Korea. But then what about the character posters used for Walmart? Similar to South Korea, same color, different set of art. This is the Blood Red Cloak poster set. And of course, speaking of IMAX a moment ago, those art cards from China, yeah, those are the AMC IMAX exclusive posters. I never really wanted to know all that, but now I have to, because I'm making it a point to address each of those as it comes up as a piece of cover art to note where it came from. So we also know when cover art is original. I will say that for when that happens for more modern stuff, I'm just saying what version of the artwork, what poster it's coming from, if it comes from a poster. For the earlier stuff, I'm actually listing who did the art. What I'm finding is that for a lot of the early stuff, it's credited to the artist. The modern stuff, it's more like corporation this, art house this. It's all based on the company that made the art, not the name of the individual. So I feel less of a compulsion to constantly reference the company behind the art as opposed to the actual individual artist or artists involved. But that's been kind of interesting. It hasn't been adding a lot of work time to it or anything like that. But what I've been doing basically is, let my son run around. We come in my office or whatever. I do my hand editing on this. And then when I get the opportunity, I take him in there, let him play in the other room where I'm at the computer and actually implement those changes. So it's going actually much faster now than it had been at kind of a slog the last few weeks. I imagine it'll slow down again once school itself starts. The other thing, speaking of school starting, that I want to mention here before we head out for this month is that if you are not a member of the Star Wars Home Video Facebook group, you might want to do that sometime in the near future. It's just Star Wars Home Video. Just do a search for it. It's a group run by Justin Berger that I also help moderate. The reason I say that, I have been fortunate recently in that a gentleman that I've purchased a home video item through a while back on eBay, Mark Westcott, has decided that he has some Star Wars stuff that he didn't want to try to sell anymore, that was just kind of sitting around, that he was going to send my way, just like Matt Fry did when he donated his collection into mine. Mark is donating a collection into mine as well. Not quite as large, but some pretty cool, interesting stuff. Like, for instance, the original newspaper from 2005 from News of the World in the UK that went with one of those Heroes and Villains CDs, stuff like that. I thought I'd never get my hands on the actual newspaper itself, and yet he had it and sent it my way. Well, as he's sending stuff my way, I'm going through, finding the stuff that I'm going to keep because I need it for my collection, finding things that maybe I can compare to what's already in my collection and keep whichever one's in better shape, and then take the other one and sit it aside for when I unload stuff, and some stuff just that I definitely don't need that I'm putting in the, bin to unload. And when I talk about the bin to unload, what I mean is any duplicates that I've had have been building over time again since the last time that I did the thing that I called it paying it forward. Once Matt Fry donated so much to me, just sending stuff out to the community for the cost basically of shipping, that sort of thing. Some of the members of the Star Wars Home Video community have taken to calling that Butler Con 2020, even though there was no convention to it. So whatever they want to call it, Butler Con 2021 is coming later this year. After the initial crazy activity of the new school year is done, I'll be going through and again taking all the extra stuff, all the duplicates in my collection, and making them available to members of the community, basically for the cost of shipping, plus just a couple of bucks to cover things like packing materials, paying to get Stamps.com account reopened and use it for a couple months, that sort of thing again. So if you're interested in picking up some extras out of my collection here, some duplicates, then what you would need to do is be part of that Star Wars Home Video Facebook group, so that when the time comes in like September, October or so, when things calm down enough for me to be able to start putting that stuff together, when I put out a call and say, hey, here's what I've got, let me know who needs what, that kind of thing, that you'd be able to be part of that discussion. Now, there were some folks who've asked me about that in the past and asked me about that post last time that it happened. And again, it's all being done through the Star Wars Home Video Facebook group. That is too big a thing to try to manage through multiple platforms. So if you're interested, you want to get in on that when the time comes, you need to be part of that group. If you don't like Facebook, I'm sorry, that does mean that you are left out of that process. It's just too much to try to manage outside of, just dealing with it the way that I dealt with it last time around. I will, however, be letting people know in advance when I plan to put stuff up, and a list of stuff and pictures of stuff of what is available. So it's not just contingent upon when someone happens to check Facebook. People will know in advance when I'm going to put those posts up. Again, won't be till September or October. I'm building it right now, and that also means there's more stuff to cover from the Star Wars Home Video Library soon that is coming from Mark. So my thanks to Mark Westcott, very generous of him, and I hope to be able to sort of return that favor out to the community again. So work proceeds apace on the book. More episodes from the Star Wars Home Video Library to record soon. More episodes of the commentaries for Patreon to record soon. And a Q&A to record at the beginning of the month. Still, busy, despite the fact that school hasn't started. But it will have by the time we speak again. So, with that, we will wrap up this update, whatever you want to call it. This project update. I almost said episode, but that's a whole different video series, right? Thank you for watching. Thank you for your interest. And especially thank you for your support over there on Patreon. May the Force be with, well, everybody, even if you're watching this channel for something other than Star Wars. Have a good one.